Hey, this is the driver. So we're back in ATS. Got out of that scale house from the last video and came over here and picked up this load going to Fort Worth, Texas. So we got a rail car mover here. Um, this technically would be classified under an oversized load, as you can see the oversized banner back there, but also would require permits where you're going to be probably overweight and over length. So yeah, all that good fun stuff. So it'll be a fun ride though. So anyhow, without goofing off too much here, let's go and get cruising here. We need our mirrors and stuff. There we go. Alright, so first things first, get out of this place. It's going to be interesting. I'm pretty sure we have enough room to do it. Biggest concern I have is we got to swing wide for every single thing, and hopefully we can make this turn here. That's what my concern is. Tight. That back there was fine, so let's get backed up without folding this thing up too much. Yeah, I think we're good. Not too bad. Okay, so we're pretty much out of here. We just gotta go through that gate to get out of here. And we'll do a real quick check on something. I was having to double check my notes and everything, guys, so I apologize for the little delay there. But figuring up our topic for the day while we make this cruise. It's only 316-mile ride. It shouldn't take us horribly long, so it'll be the usual, should be usual half hour, as long as I don't miss an exit, go the wrong way, like I do a lot here lately. So I'm still going off of things that Aiden had questions about, also known as AK. And one of his questions was how weather affects us here in trucking, and you know, the do's and don'ts and all the things that kind of come with it. Excuse me for my throat. Oh, I can make the light. Oh well. Let's get up here before we stop. So with weather, I mean, obviously a dry day, you can pretty much do what you need to do and get down the road. On a wet day, wet days just mean you got to slow down. Um, Sometimes you can get out there and you can still kind of cruise on the interstates and things like that, but your stopping time is going to be reduced, just like in a car. It's using common sense and what feels right. Where things get kind of crazy is fog would be one, because the thing that is a royal pain that we're in with fog is well, you just can't see. Um, with fog, you're definitely gonna have to drive slower. You're going to be way more aware and making sure that everything's going right. Um, Not being able to see in front of you is a royal pain in the tail. And then the other would be snow and ice. And I'm putting them two together in the same category because they can both have the same effects. Ice, you're guaranteed to slide. Snow, man, you're probably going to slide too. You know, and the thing with snow is that people get out on the road and they go, oh, well, this don't feel too bad, and they just go. They just keep cruising, they go faster and they go faster, and next thing you know, they're jackknifed in the ditch. And that's because under that snow, you don't know what's there. Is it good pavement or is it crap pavement? I mean, what is it? And most people don't know, because unless you're going to physically get out and kick the snow over and see what's under it, you're not going to know. And you can almost bet that there's going to be ice under it. Some of the other treacherous times as well is going to be as the winter goes away and the thaw comes through, is going to be black ice more prone. And the reason I say that is, everything will start thawing out and everybody, starts getting high hopes. They're like, okay, cool. Now I can start running my cruise control. I can drive a little bit faster. I can take that corner a little bit faster than I normally do. Um, that's all fine and dandy until you come around a curve that hasn't had enough sunlight to melt that snow, or there's not been enough heat to melt the snow. And then it might melt a little bit, but then it might freeze at night or in the shady times of the afternoon. And black ice is just really dangerous. Obviously the given word of black ice. It's hard to see. You just never know until you get there. We got a clear passage. So, how does all this weather affect truck drivers? Well, the thing with truck drivers is that we have to use common sense, and I hate to say it this way, but common sense is becoming pretty rare these days. It's really knowing when to be on the road. And when you're unsure whether or not to be on the road, you probably shouldn't be out there. If you lack the experience of driving in that kind of weather, you're sometimes better off not to be on the road. So if you can't be on the road, or you think you shouldn't be on the road, then how does that affect everything? Well, what it does is you have to park. And when you have to park, you're kind of stuck. You can't go nowhere for a day or two, maybe, depending upon how long the storm is, how long it takes for them to clean the roads up and make it safe again. And you just kind of have to use your better judgment on a lot of that. For me, for example, another issue I've dealt with has been wind, and that's been mostly with the RV industry, but even empty semi-trailers run into that problem as well. And, if you take the chance and drive in the high wind, you take a chance of flipping over or getting thrown off the highway by the wind. Some people look at that and they go, oh, well, then that means it only affects me. Well, you're wrong. It mostly affects just you, but it also affects everybody else around you. Because if the wind is, say, hitting the right side of my truck and trailer right now, and it decides to flip me over on this highway, well, I'm going to hit that ambulance that's there in the left lane beside me. So now I not only put my life in jeopardy, I just put somebody else's life in jeopardy, if not multiple people. And the same comes when it comes to driving in the snow and in the ice. If you do not know how to drive in it, don't be out there. If you have to be a day or two late to your delivery, oh well. Is a load really worth a life? That's really what it comes down to. Now, the downside is that a lot of trucking companies, the bigger ones it is, not all of them, but a fair amount of them, will sit there and tell you, oh, well, regardless, you need to have that load there. So you just need to drive. Even if you're driving at, say, 40 mile an hour instead of 70, we still want you to do it. So now you took an inexperienced driver and put him on the road that has no clue what he's doing, and then he gets out there and he gets into a wreck and hurts somebody or kills somebody. That's never a good thing to do. But that's what a lot of companies do. It's just a sad reality of things. My advice is, if you don't feel comfortable being on that road because of rain, wind, snow, ice, whatever weather it is, don't be out there. Because if you know in your mind that you cannot do it, then don't do it. And that's not just for truck drivers, that's for cars. You look at in the wintertime and look at the number of automobile crashes due to weather, typically in the winter. Most of those people are young. And the ones that aren't young, you can tell that they were in a hurry. On the rare occasion, it does catch even the most experienced person by surprise. Black ice is one of them. You know, black ice is kind of that gray area. You just don't know. But if it's snowing like crazy outside and you don't feel comfortable driving in it, don't do it. It's just that simple. So, you know, and if your company is telling you, "Oh, well, you got to have it there. You got to do it." Don't. If you still don't feel comfortable, just don't do it. The worst that they can do is fire you from your job. That's the worst they can do. Um, and when it comes on the customer end of it, the customer's going to be mad. They might take away some of your pay due to you not getting there in a timely fashion in their mind. But you know what? Um, I'd rather lose a couple $100 or whatever into a fine than to risk killing myself or somebody else on this highway. It to me, it's not that's not worth it. Um, and that's just pretty well that. I mean, I don't know what y'all's opinions all are. You're more than welcome to put them down in the comments or message me. But that's just my opinion of it. Um, and I know you're probably thinking, well, if you're not experienced in snow, how do you get the experience? Well, sometimes you're put into a spot where you have no choice. It's not that the company forced you, or sometimes maybe they did, but um, you just get stuck into a position. I could not tell you how many times I was cruising down the highway in the winter. The roads are nice and everything, and you pull a mountain grade and it starts snowing. What do? Well, you can't just pull over on the side of the highway. That's the dumbest place to be. The side of the highway is strictly for emergencies only. Unless you're broke down, there's no reason for you to be over there. The only thing I can tell you to do at this point is just to slow it down and get to the next exit. And by doing that, you're going to start gaining that experience. But you don't want to get overwhelmed with it either. Um, Putting yourself into a position, it does different things to different people. The people, I mean, um, for some people, it makes them very nervous. It makes their movements more jerky, and that's something you definitely don't need in the winter. Driving on snow and ice. Um, Driving in snow and ice, you need to be as buttery smooth as possible. With me, like for example, I'm not very good with this controller still, and you see me jerking the steering wheel. You don't want to be doing that while driving on snow and ice. You want to be as buttery smooth as possible with your steering, the gas pedal, the braking, you name it, all of it. It all needs to be buttery smooth. Um, and even if you're buttery smooth, still does not guarantee that it's going to keep you out of a pickle. So, like I said, mainly just use your common sense. Common sense is your best friend. So, but if you get into a spot where you're traveling down the road and the road conditions deteriorate, it gets worse, it starts to snow and you wasn't expecting it, um, just find a way off the road. Find a way. Um, if you need to pull over on the shoulder to find that place, then you do that. When I started truck driving, we didn't have today's cell phone technology. I didn't have Google Maps in my pocket all the time. So, and if I was in an area that I didn't know, but I needed to find a place to park because the weather was deteriorating, I would pull over on the shoulder, or maybe even an exit ramp that looked good, and I would look at my map. I would also converse with people on the CB. Back then, people actually used the damn thing. Today, not really. But I would get on the CB and I'd say, hey, roads are getting kind of bad. I'm not comfortable with this. Where do y'all recommend I go to park this thing? Most of the time, you'll get good responses. At least back then. Today, not as much. There's a lot of hate on the CB, but we'll get into that topic here shortly. So just find a way off the road. With today's technology, you can maybe pull over onto the shoulder or a big exit ramp like the one we're just passing, and look at your phone. You've already got tools that you can use. In the U.S., I use an app on my phone called Trucker Path. A couple of benefits of Trucker Path. Trucker Path will show you truck stops around you, and it just shows you on a map like Google Maps does. And it also shows what they have. Is it an actual truck stop with fuel? Does it have a restaurant? How much parking does it have? And that's been the big beauty for me, is how much parking does it have. Now it also has another feature to let you know what the way stations are doing. And that feature is nice, but it's a cheat, so to speak. So, um, but it's basically what you have to do. Protecting yourself is the best thing you can ever do. Um, if you get into an accident, there's a multitude of things that can happen. First off, you could get hurt or killed. Um, Anybody that gets involved in the accident that you created could get hurt or killed. Um, and if anybody is involved in the accident that you caused because you slid off the road because you were driving like a dingleberry, um, you could get sued. Not only are you going to get tickets, because you're going to get a ticket, you know, then you got a costly record bill. The company you're driving for is probably going to fire you now because, well, they consider you an idiot. Um, the people that you injured or possibly killed are gonna sue the crap out of you for negligence. So it's not worth it. Get off the road. So I briefly said something about CB radios. So for those that don't know what a CB radio is, CB stands for Citizens Band. It's been out for freaking ever. I've always had one in a truck since I was 16 years old. I had one in my very first vehicle was a Ford Ranger, and I had a CB antenna in it, a CB with a CB antenna and all the bells and whistles to go with it. And I used to talk to my buddies around town. In the trucking industry, we used to, when we didn't have cell phones, we would talk to each other. Drivers would be cruising the same direction, and they would kind of just cruise together and chit chat, and it helped pass the time. Also, you were able to find out from drivers going the opposite direction what's going on, used primarily for finding out what's going on with the way stations, if scales are open or something like that, but also about road construction, traffic, road congestion, just anything, and especially weather. So that's basically the throwdown of what CB is. Sadly, um, when I started truck driving I got my CDL in 2003, but I started driving over the road in '04. Around town, a CB is not used as much. It's used a little bit more on the over the road scheme, um, but it's still used around town, depending upon what you're doing in the town. So when I started driving over the road in 2004, I used it all the time. I couldn't tell you the number of people that I've cruised with, that were going the same direction as me for hours on end. I came out of Louisville, Kentucky one time and was getting on interstate, no, it wasn't Louisville. It was Cincinnati, Ohio. And you come south out of Cincinnati on 71 and 75. The two interstates are run together there for a while. Oh, I passed my exit, didn't I, guys? Ah, crap. Okay. Let's over. So, I was cruising with that guy all the way through Louisville. We went halfway down through Kentucky. So we cruised together for about 3 or 4 hours. And we ended up stopping at a, oh, I don't want to exit here? I guess I don't. So we cruised along for about 4 hours. We stopped and I had to get fuel. He didn't need fuel, so he just went in and got him something to eat. And I got my fuel. I did grab something to eat real fast. Took it on the road and ate on the road. And we cruised down the road. When we got to Nashville, Tennessee, he split off to go the direction he had to go, which I think he continued south, and I got onto Interstate 40 and headed toward Arkansas. So yeah. The CBs were greatly used back then. Nowadays, not as much. You can try to ask a driver that's going the opposite way, hey, what would you leave behind you? How's traffic in Fort Worth, for example, because we're coming into Fort Worth. And you might have to ask that 10 times before somebody ever finally answers you. A lot of people, because of cell phones, in my opinion, they don't leave their radios on no more like I do. I still do. But most of them, they turn their CB radios off because they're talking to family and friends on their phone, which is not a bad thing, but it is in a way. So my opinion, it's best to know what's going on ahead of you than, BSing with a family member or a friend. But at the same time, chit chatting with a friend or a family member to, pass the time is very nice and rewarding. I need to be one lane over. Yeah, we gotta go west. I don't know where I missed the stupid exit. I thought we were going all the way to Fort Worth. So that's pretty much what CVs are and how they're used. CVs are also used in a lot of locations for pickup and delivery purposes. For lane here, I guess I should pay attention, shouldn't I? So for example, when I was driving dump truck a couple of years ago, a lot of the gravel pits that I went to used certain CB channels. A lot of times you would call in when you got there, and then they would tell you where to load or unload out. So they're still used today, but not like they used to be used. But they are a great tool. All right, so let's see. What did I miss? Because in real life, we are not even in Fort Worth now. But this load's going to Fort Worth. In theory, we are coming into Weatherford now, which we already went through once. So let's see where this sends us. I'm just going to go on a limb and say they probably don't have Weatherford, Texas in here. That's probably what it is. I don't really remember Gilbert Road. Used to run through Weatherford all the time years ago. Weatherford had a truck stop I used to stop and buy fuel a lot. So if I wouldn't have missed our exit, we'd have been delivered by now. Basically just a four-way stop. Guess the other one was a three-way. I apologize for the mishap on my directions, but when you think a city is in one place and it's in another spot, it happens. It's just internet. I'm showing us. I'm looking at trigger over there, guys. What's going on here? Right, let's go up here and hopefully this didn't screw us up because it looked like I should have stayed straight on that road instead of turning. Looks like their GPS is screwed up again. Looks like I need to turn here. Yeah, their stupid deal brought me the wrong way, I think. So because of that, I'm going to let this park it because it should have brought me in on that road in front of us. So it looks like ATS's GPS is starting to goof nowadays. Here we are. And y'all can park it because y'all brought me in the wrong way. There he goes. So see how we did, guys. Consider my goof up and whatnot. Drove way more miles than I should have. So 26,000 and change for money and a little over almost 1200 XP. Not bad for a day's drive. But all right, guys. So that's pretty well that. Let's see if we can still see our load sitting out here. Or did they take it off? Where'd they park us? Oh, yeah, our load's still right there. Yeah, they basically just turned us around. So that's kind of a good thing. It's the only reason I did that, guys. I'm planning on these trips. I'm sure you guys would like to see me actually follow the instructions of way stations, whether I should or should not enter them. And I'm pretty sure you guys would like to see me actually park these things for once. So I think I'm gonna start doing that. But let's shut our truck off. Cut down our noise a little bit here. This place is noisy on its own, so. Alright guys, well, let's just call it right there, and I will catch you on the next one. See ya.